It's TK Friday, and today in the joy of editing, I have another full edit for you. I'm calling this one Towering Peaks from the Italian Dolomites. Stay tuned. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the joy of editing with Dave Kelly. It is TK Friday, my favorite day of the week. I have another full edit for you today. Today's image comes to us from Federico Zuccoli. Thank you, Federico, for the use of your image so we can all learn together. If you have an image you would like me to edit on a TK Friday, go to the description of this video, click on More, and that'll open up the video's description. And then just click on the Contact Me link, contact me, and we can discuss doing one of your images on a TK Friday. By the way, if you don't yet own the TK9 plugin for Photoshop, I'll have a link in the description below this video that'll take you over to the TK web store. You can use my promo code DK15 and save 15% off your entire purchase. There's training videos over there from Sean Bagshaw, as well as some free panels. And also, check out the TK Magic Mixer plugin. It's great for making black and white conversions, as well as working with color images. It's only $10. It's a really great value. So check that out. Check out all the training videos. When you use my promo code DK15, not only do you save 15% off, but you're supporting the joy of editing with Dave Kelly because I make a small commission, and this helps me to keep my videos coming your way. So thank you for using my promo code DK15. Okay, then let's get started. As always, I'm starting out here in Lightroom. I did not have a linear profile for Federico's camera, so I decided I'd try an adaptive profile, and I pulled the amount up just a little bit. As you can see here, it defaults at 100, and I gave it a little bit of a white balance adjustment, and as far as highlights, I pulled back on my highlights a bit. I opened up the shadows very slightly, made sure I wasn't clipping my white or black point, no presence adjustments whatsoever. Now, as far as detail, I'm using no sharpening, no noise reduction. And for lens corrections, I always check on remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. I'll click on the crop button. As you can see, I did a slight crop on this image. Now, also, I did use the remove tool. There's a couple rocks down here. I'll click this eye so you can see those rocks down in there. I got rid of those. But other than that, that was it. And now at this point, I just right click on the image, go to Edit In, click on Edit in Photoshop 2025. Here we are inside of Photoshop 2025, ready to get started. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, you can download this image and also the PDF notes and give this edit a try, which is a great way of learning how to incorporate TK9 into your Photoshop editing workflow. Now, my first step here in Photoshop is a balance and contrast adjustment of both sky and foreground, and it's already balanced out pretty good due to the adaptive profile. However, this first adjustment will help this image, as you'll see. To save time, I'm going to use David Tillett's BNC Landscape Photoshop Action that came as an example action when you purchase TK9 version 3. However, the PDF notes show you how to do this all manually, so I got you covered. So I'm going to click the BNC Landscape button, and you'll note that we have a foreground adjustment layer and a sky adjustment layer, and both of these layer masks are intersected with a Midtones 3 just to protect me from clipping shadows and highlights, because we don't want to lose detail in shadows or highlights, and this protects that from happening. Now, also take note, we have a color grading tool that is controlling the curves adjustment layer, which we have right here. I'll start by clicking on the shadow button just so we can darken up the shadows and add some shadow contrast. So with this brightness slider, I'm going to drag this slider to the left, and I'm going to take it over to right there, -31. See how all the shadows darkened up? Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. See, and that's already helping. And now I'll click on the midtone button, and I just want to slightly open up those midtones, and I'm going to take it over to right there, +8. And also, I'm going to click right about here and just warm up the midtones. Notice my cursor, when I click, I'll drop a puck, and I'm going to click right here. And now I want to come up and click on the highlight button and just open up the highlights a little bit, over to right there, 20. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. And now let's click on the sky adjustment layer. And now all I want to do here is work in the midtones. So I'll click on the midtone button, and I just want to darken up the midtone. So I'll take the brightness slider and drag it to the left over to right there, a -22. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Just darkened up the sky a little bit. I don't need this color grading tool right now, so I'll click this X and nothing changes on these color grading layers. Now let's see the overall before and after. So on the Combo or CX panel, look for this button right here. Click it. You can see we started out here. Click it again, and now we're here. So I really like this opening balance and contrast for sky and foreground. What do you think my next adjustment is? If you watch TK Fridays, I'm sure you know. If you guessed mid-tone contrast, you were right. I always like to try mid-tone contrast after the first balance and contrast adjustment. And here's how I do it. I come up to the multi-mask panel and click on this button right here, which gives us a curves adjustment layer. And then in the properties panel for the curves adjustment, there's some presets right here. Click this drop down and I'm looking for contrast. So I try different contrast curves like increase contrast, and that's really strong. And then I will try like linear contrast, that's too weak. And then I will try medium. Now the next thing I want to do, and you may think this is strange, but I want to click this button on my Combo or CX panel, puts a black hide all mask, because what I want to do is get a luminosity mask, a midtones luminosity mask. And to do that, we're going to come up and click this button right here. When we do, we go into adjust layer mask mode, and I want to base the midtones off the image before this contrast was added. And that's why I'm doing it this way. So now we're going to try midtones 1, which is the weakest of the midtones. This is midtones 2. It's still a midtone. It's a little stronger effect. And here's midtones 3. Still a midtone, but stronger. But I think I like midtones 1. So I'm going to click on midtones 1. It's an increase of midtone contrast, but it's not overboard. Okay, so let me shut off this layer. Here's before, and now here is after. Again, before and after. I know it's minimal, but I think we need it. And now I'm done with adjust layer mask mode, so I can click this X and get back to my multi-mask panel. Normally, I would subtract the sky out of this midtone contrast, but here I don't think we need it. It's not hurting the sky. And usually I follow up midtone contrast with a lightening of midtones, but this is such a subtle midtone contrast adjustment, I really don't need to lighten up the midtones. And now when I study this image, I'm looking at these mountains back here. There's a bit of a blue cast on there, which is okay, but I'd like to reduce that some. So here's what I'll do. I'm going to go ahead and click on this button right here to go into color masking. And what I want to do is sample this tone right here. You can see it's a blue tone, and I'll click OK. You see this levels adjustment, it says auto. If you double click it, you'll do an auto levels adjustment. See how that lightens up there? And then what I want to do is take this brightness slider and drag it to the right, and I'll stop right here. Now I only want these mountains, and we're picking up the sky as well. So here's what we can do. We'll click on this mask calculator button. I'm going to click on the X for an intersection, and then we're going to click on the My Channels button. I need foreground, so I'll click on foreground. We'll click equal, and now we've intersected the color mask with the foreground. And now all we need to do is output it, and I'm going to use a color grading tool, so we'll click this button right here. And now you can see we have the color grading layer with the mask we created on it. Now let's come up to the color grading tool, and remember the mask is targeting just the blue tones. I want to start out by darkening the midtones a little bit of the blue tones, so we're going to click the midtone button, and then I'm going to drag the slider to the left over to right there, -14. Now, you see my cursor right here is blue. We want less blue, so if we come up this way, what we can do is like say click right here and see how we can offset that. And then you could click again if you want to increase that amount, have less blue, we could click here, or let's come back and click around this area again. And I think that does a nice job. Not only do we offset the blue, but we've darkened that area a little bit, which I think looks really good. And now I'll click on the shadow button, and I just want to darken up the shadows a little wee bit over to right there, a -10. And now I want to give the shadows a little warm color grade. I think I'm going to click like right here, not quite as strong. See if I can get it the first time. So I'll click right here. And I think that looks good. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before. Note the blue color cast up here in the mountains. And let me turn this layer back on. Here is after. I like darkening them down a little bit, and we removed a lot of that blue color cast. And I really like this result. And now I want you to look down here in the lower foreground. I really like this area here, but it's a little bit light. I'd like to darken it down a little bit. And to do that, we can use a multiply brush. I'm going to go ahead and close down my color grading tool by clicking the X. Nothing changes on the color grading layer, but what I want is a multiply brush. And to get that, hold your shift key down and click on multiply. You're going to get a curves adjustment layer in the multiply blend mode. You'll have a white brush, but you want to have a nice soft edge on it, 0% hardness. We're going to hand paint this, so we want a nice low opacity on the brush, 10% opacity. If you don't have 10% here, type your 1 key. And what I want you to do with a nice soft edge brush, I just want you to start to paint this area down. I'm just going to paint over that one time. I'm going to paint over this area one more time and down into here. And maybe I'll paint over this area once more. And maybe right here at the edge one more time. And now I'll make my brush a little bit smaller and I'll just paint over this area in here. Trying to avoid this green, whatever that is growing there. So I'm going to come here and make my brush smaller, come out on the edge here of this rock, paint over that a couple times, and maybe right here to tone that down. Let's tone some of this down just a little wee bit. Now remember, we're only using 10%. We'll tone this area down. I'll paint over these rocks, just tone those down a little bit. I'll make my brush a bit bigger and then paint on this area right here. A couple times I'm lifting my brush and I'll make it smaller, and I'm just going to paint over this light area a little bit, and right here and also right here. And now if you'll note, see this highlight in here, it's really bugging me because my eye's going right to it. I need to tone this down. So let me show you how I do that. And I also want to tone these rocks down a little bit more too. And to do that, come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the Luminosity mask button. Now this is a highlight, so we need to find the highlight. This is lights 1. Let's try lights 2. And lights 2 targets that area. I'm going to click this button to refine. This is a levels adjustment. And what I want to do is take the highlight slider and I'm going to drag this to the left over to right there. And then I'm going to take my shadow slider and we're going to drag it to the right, and I'll take it to right here. And you can see how we've really isolated these rocks in here. Now, this mask is selecting more than just these rocks. So here's what we can do. Come to your tools and click on your lasso tool. And what I want you to do, I want this rock right in here. So we're going to select around this rock up into here and all these rocks right around here. Just like that. And now what we can do is click this button to mask the mask, and now we've only selected those rocks. The Gaussian blur dialog comes up because you could add feathering to the edge if you need it, but we don't need it. Right now we're at 0.1 pixel, which is no feathering. So just click OK. And now we need to output our mask, so come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the color grading tool again. And what we want to do is click on the mid-tone button and drag this brightness slider to the left, almost to the end. We'll stop right here, -58. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. See how it darkens all those areas? But to really sell this adjustment, we can color grade this to bring it more into harmony with the other color in this area right here. Now we want a warm tone, so I'm going to click maybe right here. And you know what? I think that looks pretty good. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. See how our eye is not being drawn to this area quite as much. I'll click X on the color grading tool just to get it out of the way of the multi-mask panel. And now let's turn our attention to this green grassy area over here. You know what? I'd like to shift it a little more to the green side and maybe increase its saturation a bit. So let me show you how we can do that. We'll be looking at color. So come up to the multi-mask panel and click your color mask button. The color picker comes up and I want to pick a tone that's closer to green, maybe right about here, and click OK. And it does a really nice job of selecting this area. Now what I want to do is refine this a little bit. So you see this top handle right here. I want to move this more to the right. See how that gets tightened up a little bit? Maybe somewhere, maybe right about there should be good. Let me increase the brightness so we get a better selection, a stronger selection right about there. Let me pull this in a little bit more to the right. Maybe right about there should be good. And now I only want the grassy area, and we've got more than that selected. So what we can do is, again, click on your lasso tool and let's just lasso around this area right like this. And then we can click on this mask the mask button and just select that. We don't need to feather the edge, so just click OK. And now I'll put this to a hue saturation adjustment layer. So click this button right here. And now let's make an adjustment. I'll start out with hue. I'm going to shift the hue to the right. See how I can bring green out in there? And I'm going to take it to right here, +11. I don't want to go too green. And now let's give it some more saturation. So we'll take the saturation and drag it to the right over to right there, plus 16. And now I just want to darken this up a little bit. So I'll take the lightness slider and drag it to the left over to right there, minus 14. Now look at this area right here. Let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Isn't that nice? I just really like that green in there. I think it looks good. Next up, we want to bring out some beautiful shadow detail in these mountains. We're going to use a TK action. If your TK actions aren't open, click the TK button on the Combo or CX panel. Look for your clarity action and click it. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up. It defaults at 10 pixels, which is more like a sharpening effect. Now, I experimented by adjusting this slider, and I came up with a setting I liked, and that was 97.2 pixels. And to accept that, just click OK. Now, if I shut off this clarity layer, here's before, and I hope you can see this, and here is after. It's a really strong effect, and I hope it shows up on the YouTube video. If you try this edit out and you do this, you're going to say, this looks horrible, Dave. But remember, I want to add it to shadows only. So come up to the multi-mask panel, click this button right here, and we go into Edit Blend If. Now, we want this in dark tones, so we want to experiment with darks. So we can try Darks 1. Okay, looking good. Here's Darks 2. It eases it off a bit with Darks 2, and I really like that. Now, let me shut off this layer. Here is before and here is after, and I hope that's showing up in the video. Again, before, look up here in these mountain peaks, and here is the after. But isn't that beautiful? It's a really nice effect. Now, I don't want that getting into the sky. It's not affecting it that much, but what we can do is come to the Combo or CX panel, click on the Layer Mask Calculator button, click Foreground, and click this button right here to apply it. And now, when I shut this layer off, here's before and here's after. So now it's definitely not going to go into the sky. I'll close down the Edit Blend If panel by clicking the X. The next thing I want to do is close off the bottom of the image. In other words, darken it a bit. And to do that, we're going to come up to the Combo or CX panel, hold your Shift key down and click on the Multiply button. That gives you a Multiply brush layer, which is basically a curves adjustment layer in the Multiply darkening blend mode. And then click on your Gradient tool, and then come up to the Photoshop tool menu. Make sure you're on Gradient and not Classic Gradient. Click on Linear Gradient if you're not already there. Click this drop down. And for TK gradients, you want to make sure you have this folder opened. Click on this first button right here. If you don't have the TK gradients, they're free. Click on the link in the description below this video to take you over to the TK web store where you can pick them up. There's even a video to show you how to install them. And now, do you see that little cross right there? Click right here, click and drag up on a slight angle up to somewhere right about here. And you see I'm just adjusting that angle. And then if you don't want to see this line, you can click on the curves icon. And what I like to do is take the layer opacity the whole way off and then just build it up slowly and stop where you think it looks good. And I think it looks good like right there at 70%. Now let me shut this off. Here's before and here's after. Yeah, see how it just closes off that bottom? And now let's close off the top of the image. So again, hold down your Shift key and click the Multiply button on the Combo or CX panel to get another Multiply brush layer. Click on your Gradient tool. Come up to the tool menu. Again, make sure you're on Gradient, Linear Gradient, and it should already be set for the white to black gradient. If not, click the drop down, open up your TK gradients and click that button right there. But we're already set. And then what I want to do is click right around here, drag down, hold your Shift key to constrain that to go straight. And I want to bring it down to like right about here. And now let's click the curves icon so we don't have to see that line. Let's take the opacity the whole way off and build it up slowly. And we're going to stop right about here, 35%. Let me shut this off. Here's before, here's after. See, it just nicely closes off the top of the image. We're nearing the end of this edit. And at this time of the edit, a lot of times I like to try the color luminosity adjustment. It's a TK action. If your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the Combo or CX panel. Look for color loom and click on that. And then we can adjust the luminosity values of all these different colors. And the only colors I want to adjust are red, yellows, and green. So I'll adjust my red first. I'm going to lighten my reds up a little bit over to right there, 41. Now we're going to go to yellows, and we can darken our yellows or lighten our yellows. I want to lighten up the yellows slightly, just to right here 93. And now for the greens, I want to darken up my greens a little bit, so I'll take this slider and we'll drag it to the left, and I'll take it over to right there minus 39. Now let me shut off this layer. Here's before and here's after. Again, before and after, and I really like that. And guess what? Now it is time for a vignette. So let's come up to our TK actions. Again, if your TK actions aren't open, click a TK button on the combo or CX panel. Just click on the first action, which is vignette. A Gaussian blur dialog comes up. I always just click OK. And now let me shut this off. Here's before, here's after, and I do like that vignette at the default setting of 30%, but I want to keep it out of my darkest darks. So what we can do is come up to the multi-mask panel, click on the Edit Blend If button. Let's click on No Darks 2. That keeps it out of the darkest darks. We can click the X on the Edit Blend If panel. Now let me shut off the vignette. Here's before and here's after, and I like it. And lastly, I'm looking at the sky up here. I think the clouds are slightly too light, the very highlights of the clouds. I just want to tone those down a bit, and here's how I can do it. Come up to the multi-mask panel and click on the Luminosity mask button, and we're looking for lights. This is lights 1. And now here's lights 2. I really want to narrow down this range. Here's lights 3, and here's lights 4. Here's lights 5. No, I think lights 4 is going to get it. So these are the lights I really want to just darken down. But I'm also getting other selections in the foreground here. So we can go ahead and click on the mask calculator button. Click X to intersect. Click on the My Channels button, and now we're going to click on Sky. We're going to intersect lights 4 with the sky, so click equal, and now you can see the lights 4 in the sky only. And now we want to output this to a brightness contrast adjustment, so click this button right here. Let's start with the brightness. Now you don't want to go too far to the left because it's going to look really ugly. Just a little bit of darkening, and I'm going to go to right there, minus 20, and I just want to reduce the contrast a little bit down to minus 10. Now let me shut off this layer. This won't be that noticeable. Here's before and here's after. It just dulls down the really light highlights just a little bit, and I like that so much more. And now let's see where we've come from. On the Combo CX panel, click the before after button. We started out here, and now we end up here. So I'm really happy with the way this edit turned out. And I do hope that you download the image and the PDF notes and give this edit a try. Well, there it is, everyone. Another TK Friday comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed today's full edit tutorial. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and if you're not yet a subscriber to my channel, please subscribe. Click that bell notification icon, click all, so that you receive all notifications, and then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll get notified about it. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me today in The Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. I'll see you all right here next time, but until then, happy editing.